Back in January, a group of armed protesters took over the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge in an occupation that would last 41 days.
We covered it extensively here on Fox 9. Now, more than 9 months later, the headquarters still closed, but the conservation effort continues. Lacey Darrow took a trip to the refuge to see how things are operating. She's joining us live in studio with the story.
That's right, Roland and Michelle. It's estimated that more than 1 million birds stop over at the refuge every year. And while the effects from the occupations for the birds are still unknown, there are little lasting effects to the public.
Back in 1908, President Teddy Roosevelt set aside unclaimed government land in eastern Oregon as a preserve and breeding ground for native birds.
Back during that time, an ounce of plumes, bird feathers, was worth more than an ounce of gold. And so the bird populations were being over-harvested, and so Teddy Roosevelt set aside that as the first portion of the refuge.
Since its designation more than 100 years ago, several thousand acres have been added to the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge, and now it encompasses more than 187,000 acres.
And the primary purpose for the refuge is to provide a breeding resting area for migratory birds and other wildlife.
According to officials, the refuge serves as one of the most important spring stopovers for migratory birds in the western United States.
It serves kind of a role like a Denver International Airport. So you have migratory birds coming from the south during the spring migration from all different directions. And they come into this basin and they stage. And so they'll be here for a few weeks, feeding and resting before they move on.
During the armed occupation at the refuge, in which dozens of men and women took over the headquarters, trenches were dug on the land, explosives were placed, and fences were taken down. Officials say the long-term effects are still unclear, but they say thanks to national attention placed on the refuge, they've seen an increase in visitation.
In some cases, that was from the more traditional user groups. In other cases, from new types of individuals.
While the headquarters remain closed, the effects on visitors to the refuge are limited.
To the whoever's visiting the refuge, they should not be really experiencing any impact.
Officials say they're working hard to get the headquarters up and running again, but as of now, they can't say exactly when that's going to be. Live in studio, Lacey Darrow, Fox 9 News at 9.
Beautiful place, don't you think?